Dear listeners, there's something that we don't talk about enough. We build entire lives around confidence, productivity, relationships, success, and we read the books, listen to the podcast, set the goals, and yet so many of us still feel like something fundamental is missing. So, not broken, just missing. Like we are running software on a faulty hardware. So the question comes is, what if the thing we are overlooking is not another strategy or skill, but the operating system itself? What if everything we want in life depends on something quieter, deeper, and far more foundational than we have been led to believe? Yeah. So, hey, dear listeners, I'm your host Avik, and you are listening to Mind Meets Machine, where we explore the deeper currents beneath the personal growth, technology, and what it means to live with intention. This is a space for unhurried conversation about the things that actually matter. And dear listeners, today we have a very lovely guest. Please welcome Kirana Sidin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Evie, for having me. I'm truly honored to be in your show, and I can wait to have a wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kirana, for being here. And I'll say, dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion,
Mm-hmm.
I'll quickly introduce you with Kirana. So she's the author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Cheers for Good Life, a writer and a speaker who explores self-respect, purpose, and what it truly means to build, not find, a meaningful life.
Yes.
So I do not want to take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get started. So, Kirana, like most people, they
Mm-hmm.
think self respect is just about standing up for yourself or
Mm-hmm.
feeling good about who you are. But
Yes.
you call it an operating system. So,
Yes.
what are we getting wrong when we think about self respect?
Yeah. So, yeah, most people think self respect is just another personal quality, right? Like confidence or high self esteem. I think I see it differently, okay? I think self respect is an operating system because I don't see it as just another personal quality. I think it quietly runs underneath almost everything we do. That's why I'm telling it operating system because like an operating system we rarely notice it when it's working well, okay, but every decision we make, every boundary we set, every relationship we build, and ultimately every life we create runs through it. That's why I'm telling it like operating system. When that operating system is healthy, it influences how the other part of our life function, right? Purpose becomes easier to act on because we're willing to make a choice that are aligned with what matters to us. And then relationship becomes healthier because we can care for others without constantly abandoning ourselves, okay? And and then a growth becomes more sustainable because we're growing from a place of self-respect rather than constantly trying to fix ourselves, right? But when self-respect itself is weak, even success I think can feel surprisingly fragile. And I think that's what makes self-respect so interesting to me. Yeah, we can have confidence, we can be successful, and then we can be productive, we can have every clear sense of purpose. But if underneath all of that, we're like constantly betraying our own values and then tolerating things we know aren't good for us or living like primarily for others people approval, something eventually start to feel off. Okay. So when I say self-respect is an operating system, I'm saying it's not just one part of a good life. It quietly influences how all of the others part function. Okay. So I think why I'm telling you the self-respect is an operating system. Okay. So yeah, just is basically how it will like make our life all together, and then like the other the other function will works for you. Yes.
Exactly. And if I also say, like, so if self respect is
Mm-hmm.
not just the confidence or the self
Mm-hmm.
esteem,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
what is it actually doing in the background of our lives?
Yeah. So yeah, because like in the real life, right? What does I think yeah, this is where self-respect become really interesting because it rarely looks dramatic, okay? It can be something as simple as saying no to something we don't actually have the capacity for, okay? And then it can mean leaving a conversation instead of staying somewhere where being constantly disrespected. Yeah, that's like in the real life. And then it can mean going to bed instead of answering one more email because we recognize that our body is not an unlimited resource, right? Or it can mean having a difficult conversation we've been avoiding all of the years. Okay, like it can also mean admitting that we're wrong. So self-respect isn't always about standing up for ourselves in some dramatic way. Okay, sometimes it's about being honest with ourselves. That's for me self-respect too. And I think that's harder than it sounds because we're often very good at rationalizing choices that we already know aren't right for us. Okay, we often like say it's fine. We say yeah, it's only happened this once. Okay, or we say like I can deal with it. Yeah, and sometimes self-respect is simply having the courage to stop lying to ourselves about what something is costing us, and then yeah. So I think that's self-respect in only the daily choice and daily day. Yeah.
Hmm, I agree.
Hmm.
I mean, it reframes changes everything
Yeah.
because
Thank you.
it's not about feeling good in the moment, but it is all
Yeah.
about like the infrastructure that holds
Yeah.
everything else together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So and like you have written also
Mm-hmm.
the quality of our lives
Mm-hmm.
really rises above the quality of our self-respect. So it is definitely a bold statement, but what does the low respect actually
Mm.
look like in someone's day-to-day existence? Like even when they seem to have it together on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think one of the clearest sign of low self-respect, yeah, is when we repeatedly know something isn't like right for us, but you keep overriding that knowing. That's the clearest sign, yeah, of we like a lack of self-respect. We can often see it in small things like saying yes when you actually mean no. And then accepting behavior we've already said we're uncomfortable with. Okay. And then like making excuses for people who repeatedly cross our boundaries. Okay. And then like constantly needing other people's approval. And also like making ourselves smaller to keep someone else comfortable. There is also sign of self-respect as a lack of self-respect. Okay. Then like ignoring our own needs because we're afraid of disappointing someone. That is also lack of self-respect. Yeah. And then also staying in situation that don't feel right because we're afraid of losing someone. That is also the sign of the lack of self-respect. And then interestingly, it doesn't always look like low confidence. That's I think the most like people misunderstood about it. Yeah, someone can be successful, confident, articulate, and accomplished, and still have low self-respect in a particular area of their life. That's the interesting things I think. Yeah, because once again, self-respect isn't really about how we present ourselves. It's about how we treat ourselves, especially when nobody's watching. That's for me a self-respect. Yeah. That's why I define it as self-respect is knowing your worth, setting our boundaries and honoring them even when nobody's watching. So I think yeah, that is the clear sign why how people like lack of self-respect.
Mm, mhm, exactly. So also like how does someone start to notice that pattern in themselves? Like especially if they have been lying,
Mm-hmm.
not lying, I'd say, if they are with that situation the way
Mm-hmm.
for years. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you say?
Yeah, I think people will like see that, yeah, they only like doing their life only like based on like because the other expectation. It's not from inside their self that telling them that yeah, this is matters for you, this is important to you, and you should like choose this even though probably it feels like more this not uncomfortable for you, okay, to choose that kind of choice there because yeah, I think that is like, and then And then like nowadays, like people like easy, yeah, easy to like choose something because the other expectation from the outside, okay, the external factor of yourself. Because like, yeah, probably people assume that you have to do it because it sounds good for you at that time, okay? Or like probably you think that I think, yeah, you have to supposed to do that because I think, yeah, people will tell you that is good for you. But once again, you forget to check on yourself, okay? Once again,
Mhm.
you forget to check on yourself what it is like. Is it something that I won't truly choose just because, yeah, yeah, I chose it consciously and like this is matters for me and it's even though it's uncomfortable, yeah, probably to choose, yeah, and then to have a courage to live it, but this is something that reflects my self-respect. This is something that reflects what my value, and this is something that reflects my own worth. And then it's something like this is like something that the boundaries that I have to set, yeah, to make this self-respect like more strength. And then when I chose it, I truly mean it, and also it's aligned with all of our value in our life, and it's also reflect the life that we want to build. That I think, yeah, for me.
Got it. So also, okay. So for daily life, if I have to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where do people most commonly sacrifice self-respect without even realizing it? Like, what are the subtle places it shows up or doesn't show up in how we live?
Yeah, as I've told you before, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, as once again, because we think that self-respect it like it's more like dramatic, yeah. But yeah, it rarely looks dramatic. And then like probably from the outside, like it's not something that looks totally wrong. Yeah, totally wrong. That is the trap, I think. Yeah, that is the trap because it rarely looks dramatic once again, yeah.
Right.
Self-respect. It's like in the daily everyday life, yeah, it can like, yeah, I mean living a conversation instead of staying somewhere we've being constantly disrespected, something like that. Okay, it can mean going to once again it's going to bed instead of answering one more email because we recognize that our body is not, yeah, once again unlimited resource. Okay, so probably it mean like it can mean having a difficult conversation we've been avoiding. So those like are like it's like regular ordinary day, right? Like, it's not like showing something that like dramatic and also like a more like, yeah, like big from the outside. No, it's like, yeah, just like only like in the daily like day like this is when saying yes and when you have to say no, and then when you want to choose this or do choose that, and then like it's it's just like something that we do all the time in everyday life, right? When to choose yes, when to say no, where or when you have to, do I have to stay in this conversation or not? It's like something like ordinary, right? In the daily basis. But yeah, that is when self-respect is like jump in, yeah, jump in into our life. And then it's like and then like questioning again, yeah, all of the thing that all we already done all of these years. And then like, is it like something like reflecting our self-respect, and then like we honoring them even though probably when nobody's watching, probably it's not like always like in the relationship, probably also like in the quieter place in yourself than when you have to say yes and when you say no. Probably is as simply as if there's a text coming in your phone, yeah, and then like this is like some kind of like invitation from your friend, yeah, it's like we're not like having like like a conversation with the others in life, right? But it's just in our phone. But yeah, if we're like liking our self-respect, it can be hard for you to answer. Yeah, you feel like you have to always say yes, but eventually, yeah, it's not always have yes. You can always choose no if you mean it, if you want to choose no. So yeah, once again, that is self-respect in a daily life, in a daily basis. It's not looks dramatic. Yeah, it rarely looks dramatic because yeah, it's always happen every day, day by day. And then suddenly you are not like noticing it, and yeah, suddenly it makes you something. And if you always like continue doing it, yeah, without checking yourself first, and then like you don't do it consciously, yeah, eventually it will becoming your operating system. And then like I think it will corrupt it yourself and then your life that you build. Yeah.
Okay. So, and at the same time, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is such a kind of, I'd say, small recalibration, but it is not,
Mm-hmm.
it's also terrifying as well because it means accepting that you have been the
Mm-hmm.
one giving yourself away.
Mm-hmm.
And it means deciding that you are worth and the
Mm-hmm.
discomfort of taking yourself seriously again. So if you say, like, in terms of the reality, right,
Mm-hmm.
life is
Mm-hmm.
messy,
Mm-hmm.
people relapse into the old patterns. So
Mm-hmm.
external pressures do not stop. So
Mm-hmm.
how does someone maintain self-respect when everything around them is pulling them back towards who they used to be?
Yeah, I think how that like pulling back the self-respect, yeah, and then like and probably it means like disappointing probably people, yeah, around us, okay, and then I think that sometimes that's the price of putting the self-respect back to your life, okay. And I don't say that lightly because, yeah, I don't think self respect means we should simply do whatever we want, regardless of how it affects other people. Okay. Sure, we have responsibility, we have relationships, we have commitments, right? But there's a difference between considering other people's needs and outsourcing our entire life to their expectations. That's the distinctive idea. Sometimes someone will be disappointed because we made a healthy choice for ourselves. That's the fact. That's real. Okay. And learning to tolerate someone else's disappointment is actually a form of emotional maturity. Okay. We can love someone deeply and still say no. That's maturity. We can care about someone's opinion without allowing their opinion to determine our life. And I know that it's difficult, but I think that's part of growing up. So yeah, yes, choose self-respect other the expectation from the people. It will feel uncomfortable and also disappointing someone, but yeah, again, that is the price.
So if you have to give one advice to the listeners
Mm-hmm.
today, what that will be?
Yeah, I wouldn't tell them to completely reinvent their life, okay? I tell them to start noticing. Notice what we repeatedly tolerate, okay? Notice where we keep saying yes when we mean no. And then notice which relationship leave us feeling smaller. And then notice what we keep doing even though we know it isn't aligned with what matters to us. And then also choose one thing to do differently because self respect isn't built through one dramatic declaration. Once again, no, it's not. It's built through repeated evidence that we can trust ourselves. We make a choice that respect ourselves, then we make another one and another again and again. So eventually those choices becomes a pattern and that patterns becomes who you are in the future, who you are in the becoming. So be careful. Yeah. When you have to choose something, you have to noticing for a while and then you have to notice what you repeatedly tolerate and then that is the pattern and that it will become yours in the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
if
much.
the listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Yeah, you can access my website, cheersforagoodlife.com. Yeah, basically, it's a home for my body of work. You can find my book there, Cheers for a Good Life. Yeah, my book is like telling something like this. Yeah, this kind of conversation, self-respect, personal growth, and then also purpose, meaningful relationship. That's what my books for. And then like you can also find my coaching practice there. I do coaching too, and my area of expertise is more like gaining clarity and also in the end making a better decision. Okay, and then you can find my writing, yeah, my honest take, my raw thought, yeah, probably before it will become a book. And then also you can find my speaking engagement. Yeah, you can book me for your seminar, webinar, workshop, or anything. Yeah. So yeah, that is basically, yeah, you can find all of the body of my work on cheersforthegoodlife.com. Thank you.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference so that you can easily reach out to Kirana. And I'd say, like, if there is one thing to
Mm-hmm.
take with you from this conversation, dear listeners, like, is this everything you want to build in life, every relationship, every goal, every moment
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
peace, it depends on the quality of the foundation that you are building it on. So, and also at the same time, the foundation is
Mm-hmm. Yes.
self-respect. So thank
Yes.
you, Kirana, for sharing your perspective, being here. And dear listeners, like I'd say, like if today's episode did something to you, then share it with someone who might need to hear it, not because it's easy, but because it matters. And
Mm-hmm.
with this hope, this is your host, Avik, and this has been Mind Meets Machine. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of the part of you that no one else sees. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me once again. Thank you.